Hello and welcome back to another episode of Pie Guy and Brodeur. One voice, two minds. I'm your host, Pie Guy. And before we begin, always remember, you can find the rest of these pie-tacular episodes and, of course, this one-of-a-kind podcast on YouTube on the one, the only Brodeurland YouTube channel, and, of course, Spotify. Now today, on this episode, we're going to talk about the word integrity. That's right. What does integrity mean? I know a lot of us, we've heard about this word many of times in our life, in sayings, but what does it all mean? What does it all come down to when we talk about this word integrity? Now, to help us along this journey, we're going to circle back. We're going to turn to the one, the only Brodeur of Brodeurland, Mr. Brodeur. Hey, Pie Guy. Yes. Integrity. We've heard that a lot, especially if you've been in school. You might have heard integrity, or in movies, or in books, or in just sayings that people say, right? So, Pie Guy, what does it all mean? What is integrity all about? And that's what I'm really excited to dive on into, because I'll be honest, we've talked about all these words of the week. We've mentioned a lot of them. And integrity, I feel like, is the heart of all these words. It really focuses on ourselves and really focuses in the honest, truest, and most beautiful form of ourselves. Because in order to go out there, in order to make a difference in the lives of other people, and of course make a difference in our life and find our purpose, we got to really tap into who we truly are. And integrity, Pie Guy, is that beginning, is that spark that we need to really move forward. Man, Mr. Brodeur, you got me a little excited. I'll say the heart. This is your word of the week that means heart to you. That really, I guess you could say, is the beating heart to all these words. I guess you could say that, Pie Guy. Wow. Well, I'm ready to dive on in. I'm ready to see what integrity is all about. And of course, pick your brain, Mr. Brodeur. So without further ado, let's slice into this word. And you know what, Mr. Brodeur? Let's start off with asking, well, what in the world does integrity mean? We've heard the word many of times, so what does it mean? Put it in simple terms, and of course, how can we use integrity in our lives? Yes, Pie Guys. So, like always, let's take a look at this Brodeurland definition for integrity, and it goes like this. It's the quality of being honest and having strong moral principles, even when we find it difficult. You know, Pie Guy, in a nutshell, integrity is all about being honest with yourself and being that best version of yourself. Well, Mr. Brodeur, when you put it that way, you make it sound easy. Well, Pie Guy, I wish it was that easy. But the first part of being honest with ourselves is so hard. I can't tell you how many times I catch myself making excuses for myself, as well as other teachers I work with making excuses, students I encounter on a daily basis also making excuses, our friends, family, we all make excuses. We all have some type of excuse ready to go when we find ourselves in trouble or stress or we make mistakes, right? These excuses seem at times to really come out naturally, right? But what we really need to do is sit back, take in the mistake, take in that action, maybe even take in that success, whatever it is. And we got to be honest with the process, honest with our process, and honest with our actions and ourselves. You see, that's the only way to start down the road of integrity. That is really, to be honest, the only way to start going out there and becoming better and moving forward in your life. All right, Mr. Brodeur. So if I'm not mistaken, this sounds a lot like your dad saying, losers make excuses, winners have ways. Yes, Pie Guy, exactly. Like I mentioned in the Take Ownership episode, and of course, many other videos and places that you find me talking about these words of the week and just motivational things, right? My dad's quote really resonates in my life all the time. And to be honest, every day that saying, that quote pretty much pops in my brain. I mean, that's not a lie. That's not an over-exaggeration. I mean, I find myself reflecting on that quote so many times, whether it's the guilt because I caught myself making an excuse, or I caught myself finding solutions. And you know what? I'm happy I did the right thing. I'm happy I came up with a solution and I figured a way to move forward. But Pie Guy, I wish I could say I'm perfect. And I'm honest with myself 100% of the time, but in all reality, I'm not perfect. None of us are perfect. And stress gets to me like everybody else at times. And you know what? Life happens. And I will say I've gotten way better in recent years. And I really fight to be honest with myself in situations and really seek out solutions. And also remind myself of my dad's saying. Now, Mr. Brodeur, let me ask you this. Do you have any techniques you use to stop yourself from making excuses and really be honest with yourself? Yes, that is a great question, Pie Guy. And I will tell you this, one of the easiest and most useful techniques that I use on almost pretty much a daily basis is taking a deep breath. Mr. Brodeur, you said taking a deep breath. Really? Yes, Pie Guy. It seems silly, and to people, it may seem simple, but when I get worked up or if I find stress, anxiety in my life and those excuses start to flow out and the fumes start to brew up inside of me and I just feel like, oh man, things are getting tense, I just close my eyes and I just take a deep breath. I just slow things down. I just find a stopping point. Okay, now, Mr. Brodeur, I'm going to ask you this. How in the world do you do that in the middle of teaching a lesson with a class full of middle schoolers? I mean, I could see that if you're by yourself or maybe in your own room or whatever the case may be, but I mean, you teach like throughout the whole day. Yeah, Pie Guy, and I got a simple answer. So this is what I do. When I feel myself in class getting worked up or overwhelmed, I go to the board and I prepare to talk about the problem we are on or that next problem. I guess I try to look for a transitional way to transition from that stressed part, or maybe the class is getting a little unruly, right? And when I go to write on the board, what I do is I look at the board and for a split second when my back is to the students, I take a deep breath and I tell myself to find a solution and let's do it. And in that moment, I'm thinking, okay, calm down, look at the board, and then let's do this. Let me turn this class around. Let me get my emotions in check because I can't lose it right now. Wow, Mr. Brodeur, you do think of some, I guess you could say, clever ways. Yes, Pie Guy. And, you know, what's funny is my co-teacher a couple years ago used to say I would be so bipolar, but in a good way. Mr. Brodeur, you just said bipolar, but in a good way. I don't understand where you're going with this. So, Pie Guy, let me elaborate. He would say how funny it was that I could get onto the class and, you know, try to refocus them, try to turn them around with a stern voice. And then all of a sudden I would turn to the board, go to be teaching, and then get back to a more chipper and Brodeur type self, right? And he always found it hilarious. But later he found out about how I would take a deep breath. I would turn and without people seeing, take that deep breath and then jump right in. But also, you know, besides just even in the classroom, I always find another technique that works well for me is when I get home or I got that time to really walk around and really clear my mind. So if I'm at home, taking that walk outside, sometimes at school, if it's during my planning, you know what, let me just take a lap in the school and just walk around for a second and just clear my mind, right? And walking really seems to help me as well. And I guess you could say I could try to slow things down, remove myself. But of course, if I can't remove myself from the classroom, that deep breath really helps me, I guess, slow things down and really stay focused. Man, Mr. Brodeur, that is crazy. You are something else. Yeah, and you see, Pie Guy, we have to slow ourselves down. We got to take pauses at times to reflect back to those situations we're dealing with, to have that self-control, to really think through and control what we can control and find some solutions. And honesty is the key. So it's time to be honest with ourselves. Pie-tacular, Mr. Brodeur. And I love how you dove into this whole concept of honesty, but really tapping into ourselves and that importance of slowing down. I know you've mentioned that plenty of times in other episodes, especially that self-control episode, and also taking a deep breath and turning things around. And I love how you also tie in, yet again, other words of the week, like being reflective, that self-control piece. And these words really do all flow and support each other. They do, Pie Guy. And again, the biggest thing out of this whole podcast or whatever I do here at Brodeurland is to remind everybody that all these words of the week, they tie together. You got to really have them work together and really flow together so you can become that best version of yourself. That's the key to all of this. All right, now, Mr. Brodeur, it seems like this was the first step on our way to integrity. So let me ask you this. What would be the next step? We got the honesty piece with ourselves. So what would we do next? Well, Pie Guy, great question. And here's the deal. Yes, we can be honest with ourselves, but the next step is you got to take action. We can be honest with ourselves all day, but eventually you got to do something. You got to put your plans, your solutions, whatever it is, to action. And Tony Dungy, who used to be an NFL coach back in the day with the Colts, Peyton Manning, won a Super Bowl together, right? And he really expresses this idea of integrity with his quote, and it goes like this. Integrity is the choice between what's convenient and what's right. You see, to me, Pie Guy, this quote is a good stepping off quote, a good way to start our conversation about the action step, the action part of integrity. Because you see, in life, every day we have choices to make. Some of them do we make because they are convenient and more easy and we want to avoid conflict? Sure. Or are we going to make choices because we know it is right and we want to do what is right? That is what can be difficult for many of us. And I can tell you, Pie Guy, there are many times I find myself in the last 2 classes of the day struggling with laziness. I'm tired. I'm wanting to make the problems easier and not go into detail or make the students write so much because I want to avoid the complaints. Can I just get the kids to behave and work, right? Because I'm exhausted. And it's easier not hearing them complain. Let's just be honest. It's easier to trick the students into doing work and just getting through the class. But here's the deal, Pie Guy. I can't do that. I can't allow myself to do that. That is the convenient, the easy way out. That not only goes against integrity, but that is a disservice to my students if I'm not going to give them the full Brodeurland, the full math lesson experience. Integrity doesn't just only affect us because our choices affect everyone we encounter. Now, here's the deal, Pie Guy. I'm not saying all the easy and convenient choices in life are bad. But what I am saying is a lot of times what we need to do that is right is not always the easy thing to do. Mr. Brodeur, that is so true. No one likes to confront others and break up the peace in the moment. We all like things to go smoothly. And I can see how myself and others may want to make the convenient and less confrontational choice. That is exactly right, Pie Guy. We hate confrontation. We hate when peace is broken, right? And there are so many situations we come into, especially with friends, family, and the people that are near and dear to our heart, right? And sometimes we have to tell them, no, I can't do this. I know this isn't right, but it is convenient to go along with it. We don't want to let them down. I mean, they're family, they're friends, right? We don't want to disappoint them. And that is why it is so hard to do what's right. that is why it's so hard to have integrity at times. That's what makes integrity such an important and vital word to moving forward in becoming that best version of yourselves, right? Because can I do what's right, even at times when it's so darn difficult to really march forward and do it? Now, Pie Guy, here's the kicker. What's the kicker, Mr. Broder? Well, the kicker is this. What I shared with you so far is really having integrity with our actions and choices with others. But here's my question to everybody right now. What happens when you are by yourself? What happens when no one is really watching you? That is when integrity is either mastered or it's a lie. Wait, a lie, Mr. Broder? Oh, yes, Pie Guy. You see, sometimes people are great actors. They can fake it right in front of people, at work, with others. But how do you live your life when no one is watching? All my students know, too, that in my classroom, above the door, when they leave, is a sign that says that exact quote, that exact saying. And it reminds them to live their life the same, no matter where they're at, right? And like the famous Christian writer C.S. Lewis, he once said this: integrity is doing the right thing, even when no one is watching. And here's when being honest with ourselves and choosing the right actions and choices come together. How am I when I am by myself? How am I when I'm with a different group of people, friends, maybe my parents, at church, at sports, wherever I'm at? Am I the same person no matter where I am? That's integrity right there. Now, if you ask yourself that question and you go, well, when I'm with my friends, I say certain things, but you know what? When I'm with my mom and dad, I don't say those things. And when I'm at church, I act this certain way. And when I'm at sports, I act this certain way. Or when I'm at my grandma's house, I act this way. Then you know what? That's not really integrity. You're changing. You're being convenient. You are not really doing what's right. You know how to act. You know what you have to do. You have to be honest with yourself. And that in turn will help you be honest with others. In order to make a difference with others and the people you encounter, you've got to master yourself. So no matter where you are, you have to have that integrity. You've got to be honest with yourself. You have to be that true, that right self. Don't try to compromise because you're around a different group of people, friends, or in a different activity. No, you have to keep being that best version, that truest version of yourself. Wow, Mr. Broder, I love it. I love how you really came full circle and pieced together the honesty piece with ourselves, the choices we make, and how we are when we are by ourselves and with everyone we encounter. And you really do spell it out that integrity isn't easy. It's hard. It makes me question, do I change based on where I am at? I mean, this is a reflective part for me and maybe some of our viewers today is, yeah, am I the same no matter where I'm at? Food for thought, and thanks for bringing that up, Mr. Broder. Exactly, Pie Guy. And I think of Mr. Rogers, one of my inspirational people that has brought a lot of inspiration through his TV show, Mr. Rogers' Neighborhood, and a lot of the books and things I've read and watched throughout his life when he was alive. And from many accounts and from many people that have met and interacted with him during his time, they all said the same thing, that he was the same person as he was on TV, meaning he had integrity. He never wavered. He never changed. He was his true and best self. It wasn't an act. It was him in front of that camera. It was him doing the speeches. It was him with the people in the moments when he was with them one-on-one. He was his true and he was his best self. Oh, pie-tacular, Mr. Broder. Now, we are getting to that time where we do have to wrap things up. So, is there anything else you would like to share with us on integrity, of course, before we have to close? Well, Pie Guy, Let's end with this quote right here by M.H. McKee. And McKee says this: wisdom is knowing the right path to take. Integrity, though, is taking it. So, what are you going to do? That's the question for today. When this podcast ends, and really every day, you have the knowledge. You have the wisdom from listening to this podcast episode right now, right? You know what you need to do. It's not enough to just know. You've got to go out there. You have to put it into action. You have to take integrity and really say, you know what? I'm going to do this. You have to tell yourself, I'm going to make sure that no matter where I'm at, I am exactly the person I'm supposed to be, my true and my right self. I have to be that same person. No pretending, no faking it with other people. And most importantly, don't fake it with yourself. Absolutely not. You have to go out there. You have to hit that stride and you have to act. Jim Rohn, who was a motivational speaker and a person I have read up on and listened to older videos of his wisdom and knowledge from his past seminars when he was alive, he said this. He said, we hear all this knowledge. We hear all this wisdom. We hear all these words. But are you like that construction worker who brings the windows, brings the wood, brings the nails, brings the materials to the site, but never builds? How are you going to take your construction, your idea, and really bring it alive? You see, you can't bring those ideas. You can't put all this together until you take those materials, you take this wisdom, this knowledge, and really put them to action. You really move forward and really do something. How are you going to do this? How are you going to bring integrity into your life? It's time to be honest with yourself. It's time to make the right choices. Not convenient ones, but the right ones. Be true to yourself and to all the people you encounter in this world so you can become that best version of yourself. Spectacular, Mr. Brodeur. I love it. And you're so right. We have to start right now. We have to start being honest with ourselves and start taking the action steps forward to make a difference with everyone we meet. But like you said, by being our true and same self wherever we are, it's time to master integrity with ourselves. And then, like you said, go out there and show the world our true self. Spectacular. And you know what? Remember, my friends, you got to stay infinite. Don't put limits on yourself. You got to expand those horizons. And Mr. Brodeur, if you could finish us in style, sure thing, Pie Guy. So always remember, you all make each day a special day by just you being you. There's no one in the whole world like you except you. And I like you just the way you truly are. It's good that you exist, but you got to go out there. You got to have that integrity. You got to be honest with yourself and then take the action steps and be that same person, that same true self, no matter where you're at, so you can become that best version of yourself. So until next time, Brodeur out. Peace.